I have 9:17. We'll convene this regular Board of County Commissioner meetings in Teller County, Centennial Building in Cripple Creek, Colorado. Thank you all for being here today. Mr. Williams, if you lead us in the invocation.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for another opportunity to serve the great citizens of this county. Thank you for the recent lessons of humility, friendship, and community in present lives. In His name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next up we have minutes, and I think we have a special meeting that we need to approve from August 13, 2004. And that's when we rescinded the fire ban. I did not have any corrections to the special meeting, it's short and sweet.
Sir, I think actually just one correction, Mr. Chair, it's August 13, 2023. So 15.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'd be happy to make a motion, sir.
I have no correction.
Okay. Sure, I move that we approve the minutes of the special meeting of the Teller County Board of County Commissioners dated August 13, 2024. That being a resolution we consider to rescind the stage 1 fire ban, restricted open burning in Teller County, Colorado.
Second?
All right, assuming no other discussion, roll call please.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes. And I think that was it for the minutes, if I'm not mistaken. And then we have an accounts payable run that's pretty huge, and I'd just like to point out two of the biggies. One of them was for $886,868.22. And that was our big paving job for the year up on the North Mountain States Road. I think it's all complete and done at this point. And the other one is Page Construction, which were continued billings on as construction projects at our fairgrounds facility in Forest Park. And that was $287,253.14. Like 60 or 70% of the grand total. So
I don't have any questions either, because he just answered all the ones I asked before we got here. So, you want me to do?
Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the accounts payable dated August 16th, 2024 in the amount of $1,580,855.27 as presented.
Second motion, Mr. Chair.
thank you, gentlemen. Assuming no other discussion, roll call please.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes. And next up will be Commissioner Stone, board reports.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's been pretty interesting summer so far. You know, a lot of great things, but then also, also natural events that happen, and it's not really a board report, and everybody here knows it as well, and I'm sure everybody out in the world knows it as well. Spent a lot of time the last couple of weeks helping Commissioner Williams out on his property, and we're all sore for it. But anyway, my comment on it though is just that the experience up there is that things can strike anywhere in Teller County, and the thing that I take heart from is just all the people I met that I was shocked that I didn't know, that just came out of the woodwork, came out of the forest, pick up a chainsaw, pick up slash, bring food, direct traffic, just lots of just an amazing outpouring of care. And I've seen it all over the county on whether it's a wildfire or otherwise, but it's it's pretty humbling when you see a public official that wouldn't even say in need, but would would love to have the help and love to have the fellowship and the brothership that he saw from that. So it was honored to help you, and I know there's a lot of work left to do, so we're not done. But on the commissioner side though, a few important meetings that did take place over the last 10, 14 days. met with Pikespeak Area Council of Governments. We did have a change in the executive committee of PBACG, where the representative from Colorado Springs was taken off that committee, and it created a vacancy within the executive committee, of which I already served on. But at the request of Sharon Thompson, the mayor of Fountain, and the current board chair, I was approved of being to second vice chair from treasurer of PBACG, and then Mayor Kelly Case for Woodland Park was elected to serve treasurer. This is just through the end of the year, and then there'll be new elections coming in the next calendar year about those board positions. But I appreciate Mayor Case stepping up, and of course that's her wheelhouse is the financial area, so glad to have her help there. Also, the Central Department HTPR met down in Florence earlier this week, or actually last week on Monday, and went through for the public and also for the board itself what the 10-year planning process is and will be for the Central Front Range Transportation Planning Region, which essentially is all of Teller County except for the city of Woodland Park. The city of Woodland Park falls within the Pikespeak Area Council of Governments Metropolitan Planning Organization. So all of their transportation projects go into PBACG, but the rest of the county falls to Central Front Range TPR. And why that's so important is not only does it provide funding and highlight projects and improvements that we need on our state highways through PBACG, through Central Front Range TPR, but also things like Cripple Creek Transit and our Teller County Senior Coalition also receives a lot of funding through MMOF funds, which is the multimodal transportation. So the shuttle transportation that the Teller Senior Coalition does, and all the trips that they do for vets and seniors, and you don't have to be a senior also, they do it for anybody that needs rides, as well as they've established now a little bit of a transit route on the west side of the county that's regularly scheduled so that people can get into Woodland Park and do shopping and go to the doctor and do those things. And I don't think people really realize the impact that they have on people's lives that allow them to continue to age gracefully in place when it's more difficult for them to drive. So, and that's of course one of the many services that they provide. But we went through that whole 10-year process and kind of laid out what projects are on the queue. They did update us that they're going back out to bid on the Highway 67 North project, north of Woodland Park. It was published this last year, but the bids came in much higher than what was budgeted. So they pulled that project. They are reworking the budget, getting new money, and hope to put that back out this coming fall for the 2025 construction year. Also, they have now allocated funding for the balance of Highway 24 from just west of Edlow Road all the way to the county line for resurfacing. And that should be a 2025 project as long as they are successful in awarding a bid on it. So we do have the funding for it, and it's going to continue. And I've been beating that drum ever since they shortened the original project. So we should be seeing some movement on that. And that's the last thing that I've asked them to do on the safety side, though. I've asked CDOT to, and they're going to come up and they're actually going to go drive it with me, but we're going to drive that section of Highway 24 from in Divide at the Highway 67 interchange, point out some of the safety issues with the neck down to one lane there, and the congestion as well as safety concerns that are created there. But then also the interchange at Twin Rock Road, which for those that are familiar with it is kind of at an odd angle and a little blind, both coming both directions. As you're trying to turn onto 24, there's no speed lane or acceleration lane coming off Twin Rock. You're going right into traffic, which is accelerating coming out of the canyons. So I pointed to some of the traffic and accident data that was available for the area, that they've agreed to come up and kind of tour the area. So hopefully from that, we'll see a project for safety improvements around that. We've had too many accidents that have happened along that stretch of road.
If you could do that Friday afternoon at 4, you could see that lane narrowing and divide very obviously with all the trailers and people.
Right. Well, this Sunday afternoon on the other side of the hill coming back, it backs up for a long way. And of course, people who are in haste make poor decisions. And that's why it actually tends to affect some of the traffic down towards Twin Rock. But anyway, hoping for some improvements there, in the coming years. Also, attended the Teller County Senior Coalition Board meeting this past week. As I mentioned previously, I applied to become a member of their executive board. They did approve that this last meeting, so I now do sit on the Teller County Senior Coalition Board, and I think that's really important for a commissioner to sit on that board for really all the reasons I previously stated about the type of services that they provide. We do have an aging county. Folks, the average person that moves here is, I think, 55, years old, and they move here to fulfill a dream, but they don't always realize that the dream quickly becomes that they're aging, just like all of us. And Teller County Senior Coalition is really probably the key upfront agency that allows our residents to age gracefully in place and be able to stay and fulfill their dreams as long as possible here in the mountains. So just really honored to be a member of that board and look forward to being able to help them. I have one third thing that I wanted to talk about. I'm trying to remember what it was.
Senior coalition's moment.
It wasn't senior coalition, no. Sure written it down, but I guess I'll just leave it at that then. But anyway, lots coming up, and looking forward to a big finish. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot about it. The Salute to American Veterans Rally. I was proud to represent the commissioners at the rally this weekend. Normally Commissioner Williams is, kind of a stalwart at that, but due to the damage up on his property, that he continued to work up there. So I represented commissioners at that. It was another, just a fantastic event, beautiful day. Overall very safe event. He ran off without a hitch. Just a really, really good event. And then following that on Sunday, we went to the wall rededication in Cripple Creek at Mount Pisgah Cemetery. Some great words spoken by Commissioner Williams and also another retired colonel, about the sacrifices of those that have come before us. And, I think the strong message there is that it is a blessing that for 3 years we haven't added a name to that wall. And with that blessing, though, comes sometimes our gaze tends to go in other directions, and we just can't ever forget the sacrifices of those, who answered the call of their nation and gave all. So really appreciated that. That will happen every year, and I just want to encourage everybody when they have the opportunity and see that to come out and show their support. Last thing though, and it's not an event, but it's in social media a lot, and I don't know if the administrator wants to talk about it, may not after I bring it up, but there is a chip seal project that is warranty work that's been going on 101 and Lower Twin Rock Road. That is warranty work of where last year's chip seal project wasn't up to standard, and we called the contractor back in. They looked at it, they agreed to do warranty work on it. So they're out for a few days. It was actually a fairly short project for them to go, but social media exploded with people talking about broken windshields and the impacts of chip seal projects, and I get it. But I will go back to something which I say a lot, and I think it's accurate and it's not callous at all. But when you move to the country, you're going to get a lot of gravel, you're going to get a lot of chip seal, and you come out in the country, you're going to get a little country. And I get it. And the best thing you can do when those projects are going on is give yourself extra time and either go around, take a different route if you're really concerned, about damage to your vehicle, or slow down. And sometimes there's just not a darn thing you can do. Somebody's coming way too fast from the other direction and they kick up some of that aggregate that they put down for the chip seal. There's not a thing you can do. And, it's unfortunate, but that's just kind of life in the country. And it's important that we get these, and it's also important that it's done right. Because once it's done right, those will last anywhere from 10 to 12, sometimes even 15 years. And we can have a good paved road out there for people to drive on. So appreciate everybody's comments and understand the frustration with it, but leaving it alone is not an option. Leaving it alone is never an option. And the same thing with the gravel roads, that there's different types of maintenance that is done on gravel roads depending on the condition of the road. Sometimes it's simply going in and smoothing out and adding, kind of recrowning and reworking the gravel road. But it doesn't take very long of people at speed to knock all of the material from out in between all the washboard. And then there's the rebuilding of it, which is where they go out, actually take water and then, scrape everything down, bring new road base in and do kind of a general rebuild of those. Depending on the state of the road, sometimes it's just a simple, we're gonna go out and fill up the washboard. And yep, 2 weeks later, the washboard's gonna be back. That's life in the country. And rains do it, vehicles do it, but one thing that they need to be aware of is when those guys are out there working, slow down, give them a wave. They work hard and they understand that they're gonna be back out there 2 weeks later doing the exact same thing because of where they are in the maintenance schedule, but they do a good job. And, with not as many people as they would like. And I just wanted to bring that up so that people understood kind of how those projects works and why they're important. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Stone. Commissioner Williams.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. And dear forbearance, I have 4 things and then a little bit about what happened to us. Eric's right about the Veterans Rally. That's the first time in 10 years I didn't attend it and I didn't speak at it. I did go out to the end of the road for a few minutes and wave at them. And that's why the Mountains Conservative support. I will tell you, I had probably as many veterans at my ranch all week helping me. So just in general, just wonderful. So thank you, Eric, for representing us. I'm sure Bob's going to talk about the special session coming. We've been engaged in a campaign, we've written articles, we've talked to people, not taking total credit for that, but that all helped to move the governor and the legislature to a special session to address taxes. So we're real proud of that, and I'm sure Bob will talk about it. There is going to still be Proposition 91 on the ballot. Now, just a comment about that, it won't be called 91, I'm waiting until September 4th. We've commissioned through our party 3 posters. It's the Mountain Lion bill, it's Mountain Lions podcasts and links. But again, the solo on that is it'll be the first time since they banned bear hunting and trapping that generally the 60% of the people that live in Colorado's Denver metro area will try to decide game management. It's wrong in my view. That's why we have CPW and DNR, and it's really an attempt to further reduce hunting. So we're going to fight that. We're going to put 3 big posters along 24, which sees 30,000 people a day. And it's just important. And again, whether you hunt mountain lions or not, ask yourself, what if it was elk? If the people that lived in Denver decided to stop hunting, what about stop trout fishing? It's the principle of it. So we're going to be fighting that, talking about it quite a bit. September 4th, though, we'll find out what it's called. So again, on your ballot, it won't be called 91, it will be given a number, and then we'll try to fight it. We're also fighting it in Denver, making some progress. To that end, on Thursday, I'll be down in Colorado Springs now most of the day, the banquet in the evening, but I said the Wildlife Council, the Wildlife Commission will be there as well. We're going to talk through what happens if it passes. What does that look like? What's the future of game management? So there's some work sessions now that have popped up that I'll be proud to represent. Not just Colorado County, but rural Colorado. These policies affect us more than the city. Just a shout out and a reminder, the 9/11 ceremony will happen this year on a Wednesday, September 11th at 9 o'clock in the morning. Ask you to mark your calendars. I know the press will be there as well, and I'll put more information out, but we've got a good program coming together that I'll be running again for the county, people from all over the county, mayors, council people, just everyone that can come up and some folks from the spring. So it should be pretty good again, 9 o'clock, Wednesday, 9/11. So yeah, I'm the guy that got hit by the tornado. That's how I'll start. I just want to start. I just have so much gratitude. I will start by saying I've been a public servant since I was 17 and joined them. Given, you never, as a giver, as a servant, you would expect to receive. I have to start by thanking everybody on this dais. The commissioners, Paul Herkin was up 2 days on his own. Ross Herzog, but so, it's sort of a pay it forward thing that you don't expect to ever see. We're usually on the other side of disasters, as you know. So Susan was back east with grandkids. There's me and the dogs that just came home. And the first thing I would say is our investments in county infrastructure over the years, quality dispatch, good radios, people paid enough so they want to come to work there. Our first responders, you hear about that a lot, giving them pay increases, all that stuff, making sure that our fire departments can all talk to each other on radios. Investments that we're not taking credit for, but we had a big roll in and through Ross and our fire chiefs. All that came to fruition in about 2 seconds. And so at 3:06 on Friday, I had a sensation that it looked like a tornado to me. It was really dark. I didn't see the twister yet. What we now know is that it was a mile long, 400 yards wide, and it hit my legs first. It touched down at least 3 times on the ranch. first destroying the front gate, twisting the two eagles. If you've been out there, it did fly. Once. And when I saw it hit the second time, and I watched 100-foot increments go up 500 feet, I realized what was happening. And you're not really scared. You're just trying to figure out how can this happen in the mountains. And so I picked up my phone and I called 911. So that investment of quality people, they know our numbers, and they said, "Hey, Commissioner, what's going on?" I said, "I'm about to be hit by a tornado." As soon as I hung up, that's when it hit the house. So about 2 minutes of rumbling, all that you'd expect that you hear about. And then when I opened the door and looked around, I had a 360. I mean, there was desolation, destruction in every direction. And you're sort of in shock. Where do you start? You grab your chainsaw, pick a tree. The concern at that moment was the half-mile in holding had trees the whole way down. You don't know if your electricity is going to spark or your propane start a fire. My wife's not there, so you sit there, me and the dogs looking around. At that moment, I started seeing Cripple Creek PD, the EMS, Cripple Creek Fire, Jason Meisel with his deputies. These gentlemen right here, Eric can tell you the story offline because he saw the call that we all get and he recognized it was the address. And so one of the deputies made it up to the top in the ring and said, "You all right, sir?" I said, I think so. "You got any chainsaws?" I'm very proud of the fact that I put them away. It last wood cutting season in good shape. Fred Clifford, everybody responded. We just started cutting out until about 7 o'clock at night. And then these guys stayed with me for a couple hours to make sure I was okay. And then the next day, what was eye-watering, you wake up and that beautiful sunset. I could see a lot more of the sun because the trees were gone. And I looked out and there's my first neighbor. And again, I didn't ask for any help. I really appreciate the help, but I didn't ask for any help. There's a neighbor there at 6:30 with his chainsaw, his truck, all the stuff. And he says, "Hey, I just put a 20-pound pork butt in the smoker because you're going to need it." I had no idea what he meant. And then just overwhelming for the next 7 days. And so these gentlemen here to my left and right, very appreciative, very heartfelt. Businesses, total strangers with food. We just started clearing the envelope so that we could assess the damage, make sure the electricity wasn't going to catch on fire, get things off the roofs. So it's pretty good. The good news is we've got engineers out there. The house is super solid. It's fine. We are going to put a new roof on the pole barn, partial roof on the house. We have blown out windows. There's an EF1, which the estimate was 100 to 110. No, it did come. So it's my next thanks is the feds, the state, and the county work really, really well together. I have to give a shout out to our OEM office. Jessica Flores was there every day. There's 14 properties damaged. There's over 30 acres of BLM. BLM director came, field manager came. I got to watch Jessica really work the crowd and talk to people. She also got a sense of some of my neighbors being pretty frail. They're older people, like Eric said, these folks are in their 80s. They don't have chainsaws, what do you do? So the concern now is we're working against time with our neighbors and we're helping them as well. Next year, this will start a fire from Creek. So I now transition out of the emergency phase into the more deliberate phase. We're paying professionals and got insurance and it's working. But I wouldn't have had it done by you guys. I will tell you the youngest volunteer was 16. Eagle Scouts, wonderful kids. We wonder about our youth, whether they still can do anything besides play with video games. Yeah, yes, they can. Eye-watering. My oldest volunteer was 82. He's a Marine named Pete. And he's a Vietnam guy. He's out here to help. Eric's not joking. On one day, I think there was 35 people there, no room to park. And, I had people that would just say, "What can you do? If you ever operated a chainsaw?" The answer is no, we're not going to give you one today.
Well, you get the call.
Yeah, I give you.
I'm not ready to change on.
All certified. So I just wanted to say thanks there again. There's really no way to say thank you to people that have come out. It restored my faith in people. I always had good faith. The three of us all the time, and Ross work about division, elections, everything else. There's a reason to be pissed off about everything. There were no Republicans or Democrats on my property. There were no gay or straight people, no black or white people, no veterans or non-veterans. They were just people. And I think it's easy to forget that. We go through presidential races, we go through local official races. And I just ask you to remember that rural counties are different. Colorado is different. Teller County is super special. So I just, not getting emotional. I've had plenty of time to be emotional. Every time somebody's wife came up and gave me a hug. My wife is back now. She had a good cry. And then as an old colonel, she rolled up her sleeves and getting after it. So the bottom of my heart, thank you. And there's more work to be done, but I'll get it. And we're back back full force and disinfect that meeting. So, thank you all for coming. It means a lot to me. Thank you, Teller County. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams. Not that I can improve on your words, but you're a gentleman that's always out there helping others. They need some assistance. Sometimes it's not always critical. It's just what you are. You're a neighborly guy and you help other people. And it was our turn to help you. So lots of labor, lots of good times, but chainsaw crazy man for several days trying to help everybody. Since our last meeting, 12 days, I've had lots of meetings to work with in between spending full days doing labor. Had a meeting with CTSI and we're proceeding with the process of selling our big office building down in downtown Denver. Just because it's old and it's going to take way too much investment to keep the building level. Vacancy rates are killing us as far as paying rent, so we're working on that. Had a community partnership meeting and we got another one today, and they had a big event over the weekend at the Paradox Brewery. Got lots of participants in their barbecue contest and they were a benefactor in that one. And come back on the property tax issue, as you mentioned, Governor Polis did call a special session that will begin the 26th. I think that's on Monday. Expected to be 3 days and crafted as special orders message to be fairly focused to deal with the property tax issues so that there could be some continuity instead of changing lots of concepts and lots of rates every year. We did get Mr. Fields, who is the sponsor of getting a couple of those ballot issues. Item 50 and 108 on the ballot to agree, and he publicly agreed, and he has joined our meetings, that if this bill gets passed in substantially the form that was presented, that a bunch of us have been working on for several weeks, he will pull those issues from the ballot. So it'll be a legislative decision instead of decide a master tax policy through the ballot. So the same idea that you had talked about, trying to decide DOW policy by the ballot, never works out exactly as you intend because it's hard to get messages across to the voting public other than they should be lower. But the result of this compromise is several different brackets of changes on assessed values and limitations and rates that will go into the property tax. And he has committed that if this goes through and Governor Polis signs the final bill, that he will pull that. And the key factor is that he won't be back next year or the following year to do another property tax issue, which has been sort of the pattern for the last few years. I think overall it does take some local impact because all property taxes that are being looked at are local. There is no such thing as a state property tax. So all these property tax affects your local library district, your ambulance district, your fire district, your water districts in your neighborhood, city council governments and processes, county governments. Some effect on schools, although they're insulating the school process a little bit from the major cuts. But I think the compromise that we've got is better for local governments and the services we provide, because that's what it would do, is to change the amount of services that we are provide locally if everybody takes large cuts in their property taxes. It's better than if 50 passes or 108, let alone if both of them passes, it would be fairly quickly taking billions of dollars statewide out of the tax issue. So we've been pretty busy working on it. We worked on it yesterday. Unfortunately, some of the politics that are involved were worrisome that other issues could come into the session, and we saw one yesterday pop up, and I don't know how it's going to work, but they're going after collection processes in the treasurer's office and trying to make 12-month payments, which the way the total system is designed, 12-month payments really don't work in the treasurer's office. It would have to be a much more comprehensive overview and oversight of all the statutes, because it would affect literally dozens of statutes if they try to make a 12-month payment, let alone all the processes in 64 counties would have to change, programming would have to change significantly. But we're going to work on that one to try to keep that at bay. The 12-month payment was actually a subject that came in one of last year's legislative bills, and it got shut down basically for that exact reason, is that just saying, oh, we don't make people pay 12 months a year, that's an easy answer, do it. It's not that simple, because everything from collection processes to distributing payments to what the districts rely on for payment anticipation and the way they structure their financing, the way they structure their bonds, the way they can construct their budgets each year to be able to do projects and whatever. It's all tied based on what the system has been for, I don't know, 75 years or so, the way the collection process is done. So we're going to be working on that. The Treasurer Association reached out to me yesterday, see if I can help on that. Being the next treasurer, I plan to spend some time on that, but hopefully the message from Mr. Polis cleans the day, and that we're going to focus on the rates and the amounts and get into other subjects. But when you open up for special session, sometimes that's the risk, and sometimes that was the hesitance to do it right away a couple of weeks ago when the subject came apart. But we will tackle it and deal with what we can, and hopefully level heads will win the day and just deal with the rates, and that some of these more complex issues can be looked at during a legislation where they'll be able to have regular in-person testimony and get some feedback and get the experts involved. Like Commissioner Brown can go up and testify, et cetera. That if you're gonna delve into a different concept, is you gotta look wholeheartedly at the system and not just do a knee-jerk reaction. So that'll be my soapbox on that subject dear to my heart, obviously, but it's what we do. I think I'll end my report at that, and we'll go on to elected officials report. Clerk Keys, do you have anything to present?
I do. I just got back from conference in Grand Junction, which was hot. It was over 100 degrees every day, and I was glad to be home in the mountains when I got back. There was a lot of interesting things at conference. It was different than any other conference I have been to. There was some trial going on there. Tina Peters, if you're familiar with her, she was convicted of 7, I believe, of 10 counts. And so this caused, because she was only 2 short blocks away from where the conference was, we had armed security at the conference, we had Homeland Security at the conference. So it was a little different, but we did learn a lot of things. There was a couple of things that we're dealing with as far as what happened with legislation. We're currently required now to have in-person voting at our jail. So during early vote, we have to take 6 hours, 2 judges and a staff person to the jail. Some people who are incarcerated can vote in person. So we are meeting with the Sheriff's Office on Friday to discuss the logistics of that. We were informed, or there was legislation that passed concerning recording fees on a flat rate, which is going to upset some people because it's $40 a document. So no matter how many pages it is. So we're working on implementing that. I just want to remind everybody about the fraud guard. I have had really good positive feedback from property owners who have signed up with fraud guard in order to be alerted if there is any activities selling on their property. I did have a lady leave me a message this morning concerning that she was not aware that her daughter had sold her property, but that's another story. Wow. Let's see. The November election is coming up. We are, I encourage everybody to please make sure that you let all your neighbors and yourselves, please update your voter registration. If you have moved or if you know from neighbors, we need to remind them to update their voter registration. Remember, this ballot is going to be extremely large. We've been told that it probably will be a 2-card ballot. So we're working through the logistics of what that means to the county or to even just balancing. And currently we have a few different local entities that are coordinating with questions. Counting those questions, there's 4 minutes with the state questions, approximately 20 questions on this ballot, not counting answers. So having said all that, I'll just end my report.
So the idea is you just don't shrink it to microscopic, to put all over it.
It's actually, if I put it in a -2, it might fit 22 in the ballot.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Yeah, and of course, just want to let you know, I did go register for Broad Garden on our property, and it's pretty easy to do. And I appreciate the service that you guys are providing there. And again, Broad Garden, there's no cost to any resident, for the service we provided, and it hasn't told me anything yet other than I'm successfully registered. I hope it never does, but appreciate that, there's an opportunity there for you to, there's ways you can track your credit out there. Now there's a way you can track your property in regards to people trying to do transactions without your knowledge.
And just to add to that real quick, it was brought to my attention that when you do sign up, it does say that you have to put in payment information. Just ignore that. It's hard coded. I can't have that removed. Just hit next and go past it, and it lets you go past that.
All right, Treasurer Brown, anything?
I'll wait for my report.
All right, Assessor Kittleson, anything to report?
Nothing today, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All righty, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Next up, we have Administrator's Report. Mr. Herzog.
Thank you, sir. I think just a couple items. So one, very happy to see the warranty work get done on the chip seal. We did broadcast that out on our social media and also on our website, which we hope the public keeps going to get updates as we do projects and they want information. Also, just real quick, I think we covered everything, but just remind the community that school's back in session. I know the other side of the county will start on Wednesday, so Crip Creek's already going there. And remind people to give a few extra minutes in the morning, be safe on those school buses. You know, the drivers are still learning their routes and they're trying to figure out where to pick up and drop off kids. So give space, give time, be safe, and please be mindful of those lights when they're flashing. That's all, sir.
Thank you, sir. Next up, we have time reserved for department heads. She didn't see department heads in the room. All right, now we have time reserved for the public that don't have agenda items on the calendar today. Any public that would like to speak? Yes, sir. If you come up to the microphone and introduce yourself, that would be great.
Morning, Commissioners. My name is Sean Smith, and I'm like Dan, a retired military officer, and also, well aware of many of the phenomena that you've spoken this morning. I think I've been moved to Teller County about 2 years. I'm on my 5th windshield. And it's a Jeep, so the Jeep kind of, invites it. But
It does.
But anyway, I'm sorry to hear about your property, Dan. I'm glad to hear that some of the neighbors showed up. It's heartwarming. You all, commissioners, have heard me multiple times at GOP meetings in the county. This is my first time coming here. I've been somewhat remiss. Just for the record, my background in the military was operations, missile and space operations, but I have a great deal of expertise in special technical operations, and in particular in assessing threats. And was responsible for operational testing and operational testing oversight and assessing the threats posed by foreign nation states, specifically to complex computer-based weapon systems. But the lessons from that and the knowledge from that apply very well, unfortunately for myself and about to be for you, to our voting systems. I've only been researching and studying our election systems for about 3.5 years. And so that's how long I've been, as you described, really angry about it. And so I'm here today. I meant to bring you some printouts. I'll be glad to forward those to you electronically. I had a problem with the printer this morning. But I'm here today because I want to ask that you schedule a special session or a working session so that I can talk to you about these issues and details. I'm going to make just a few points to you, just discuss a few details that I'd like you to be aware of, and I think hopefully will stoke your interest in our election systems. But to be clear, I'm going to test your oath. That's what I'm here to do. I have a great deal of trust and respect for you and the service that you're engaged in. I really appreciate what I see as the spirit of that. It comes out across in the way you talk about your neighbors in the county and county business. But this is going to get harder this morning. So I want to talk about three things that we should be concerned about, and that is whether or not we have fraudulent voters, whether or not we have fraudulent ballots, and whether or not we have fraudulent counts. So the first thing I want to talk about, and these are just gonna be facts. I'm just gonna give you facts, and we can talk about the meaning of them. If you will schedule a working session, we can come and talk in detail. Otherwise, I'll just keep coming back, I guess, to the public comment sessions. So the first of all, about our voters. Colorado for 2022, I'm using that year because that's when we have complete data from these sources. The EVES, which is Election Assistance Commission's reporting that it requires from the secretaries of state or chief election officials of states that are receiving HAVA grants. The EVES reports for 2022 said that Colorado had 3.8 million, roughly, active registered voters. The Census Bureau, which does this assessment by calling citizens and recording data from those conversations on a monthly basis using random sampling across the entire country. Census Bureau for the same exact time period estimates the registered voters in Colorado at 3.162 million. So understand that's an 18% disparity between the officially reported results from the Secretary of State and what has been statistically sampled by the US Census Bureau. That same disparity, and this is for the state of Colorado, not necessarily Teller County, but I am researching Teller County's voter rolls and voting history. I'm not ready to report on details of that yet, but I will. I helped design, train, and execute the canvassing done by citizens under US Election Integrity Plan in 2021, principally. We just were exonerated in a federal courthouse for the lawsuit against three of us named defendants by NAACP Colorado, League of Women Voters Colorado, Meet Familiar Voter Colorado, that accused us of violating voting rights and KKK acts. The results from that canvassing showed conservatively statewide an 8% error or discrepancy rate in score. That includes both voter registration and voting history. And then you also have, if you're not familiar, Judicial Watch versus Griswold, or Judicial Watch sued the Secretary of State for her failure to maintain accurate voter rolls, which she made a bunch of public statements, but they did settle. And if you've seen any pattern in the Secretary of State and the Attorney General's lawsuits, they don't settle unless they know they're wrong. So I also want to talk about the ballots. So if you're not aware, nobody ever, anywhere in the state, no public official reviews the Postal Service data. So the US Postal Service tracks all inbound and outbound ballots going through the mail. They track that via IDMTR. It's a program-informed mail tracking report. That data is going to the Secretary of State and to proxies like ballot tracks. That's why you get notifications and text, because they can see where it transits. Nobody ever reviews that data to see if the number of ballots going through outbound and inbound are correct, or if they're going to the correct addresses. That never happens. They never review the ballot tracks data to make sure that that correlates to the data in the Postal Service or the data maintained in SCORE about the registered voters. They never review the SCORE signature data to verify that the signatures are actually accurate. I am aware from eyewitness accounts of at least 13 different signatures for voters, for a single voter in SCORE. They never review the Dropbox video. Every single election in this state, at least 200,000 hours of Dropbox video are produced. Nobody reviews it. And for the public to get to it is extremely difficult and costly. There is no testing, certification, or audit of the Agilis vote verification or vote signature verification machines that are used in our largest counties. As you are all aware, the 12 largest counties in the state dictate the electoral outcomes for the state. They are mostly using the Agilis machines. There is no federal certification. There is no state certification. There's no independent auditing of those signature verification machines ever. The only thing done is by clerks, where they are doing, in some cases, like the first 100 or 100 out of the first 1,000 or some sample out of some signatures. But there's no regulation for it and there's no standard of enforcement. And then I want to talk about the counts, just very briefly, our voting system. Right now, we're on Dominion Democracy Suite version 5.17. There is no, as far as I can tell, looking at the configurations of our equipment in the county, right now, no wireless connectivity to our machines. So that's good. That's very much unlike in 2020's election, where we had at least 6 devices in our voting system that had both wireless and Bluetooth connectivity, and those were the ICX touchpads. That's unlike, by the way, many other counties in the state, which are still using to this day, ImageCast central scanners that are registered in Australia, the Dell computers that were manufactured overseas are registered in Australia to a non-US entity. And they are equipped, those ImageCast central scanner Dell computers, typically Dell 7040 all-in-one, 7030 all-in-one, sometimes a 9030 or 9040. They all have those 104 tabulators in this state had wireless networking devices installed on them by the vendor, certified by our Secretary of State, despite the fact that the voting system testing lab for those equipment in that suite did not test the telecommunications capability at all for any purpose, including for security. So it's good. Our state has no registration in Australia, so that's good. But our election management system server in Teller County has an IDRAC, an integrated Dell remote access controller installed. That device has one purpose and one purpose only. It is for remote management of computers. We should never have a voting system that has a capability built into it for remote management. In particular, because that Dell remote access controller is not under the control of any local person. Whoever has originally registered that Dell computer for the election management system server, that is the person that has the authority to put that server into their list of enterprise managed devices. And then at the moment it is connected to any external network ever, they have the ability to access and control hardware on that device. And this one's going to be hard. This one's for you. Our voting systems are illegally certified, and I'll be glad to detail why. I've got about, at this point, 16 different Title I violations by the Secretary of State. One of them is the illegal certification of our voting systems. There are several reasons for which the certification was illegal, not least of which is the voting system testing lab was not accredited under federal law, which it was required to be at the time they conducted the testing originally that is now being used as part of the test justification or answer for 5.17. It was true for 5.13 version, for 5.11 CO version. The voting system testing lab was not accredited at the time. Its accreditation had expired. The Election Assistance Commission and our own Secretary of State's office have lied about that fact. They have tried to hide that fact. I have the records and will be glad to show them to you. This is important for you. You are allowed under Colorado statute to adopt and use a voting system that has been legally certified. You are not allowed to adopt and use a system that has not been legally certified. In addition to that accreditation and certification question, the system is also not legal for use in Colorado because it does not meet the standards of the 2002 voting system standard. In particular, under that voting system standard, the system is not allowed to allow the alteration of log files, which is the audit trail, which is an election record on that system. But every single Dominion voting system in Colorado, in fact, nationwide, is configured in the election management system to automatically overwrite log files when the folder becomes full. That's happening across the country. It's been happening in Colorado. It's happening in Teller County. What that does is interfere with the ability to audit that election. You cannot see what happened on that system, and you are required to be able to under the law. I know I've gone over time. I really appreciate your patience. I could go through about maybe 10 more items easily. It would take me half an hour, and then we could talk in detail about it at any time you'd like to. Thank you very much for your attention. I would appreciate it if you would please schedule a working session where we can talk about some of these things in detail because they do affect you and they do affect our county. They're germane to your sworn oaths of office. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sean.
All right, do we have any other public? Doesn't have an appointment on the schedule today. All right, no further public, we'll close public comment at this time. And we'll open it up for our 9:50 item. Administration, consider resolution to amend the 2024 general road and bridge, jail enterprise, and DSS fund budgets. Mr. Herzog, you can handle this one?
Yes, sir.
And clerk, just to confirm, number 30 is correct. Before you is a resolution number 08-20-202430, a resolution to amend the
2024 general road and bridge, jail enterprise, and VSS fund budgets. Whereas in the past, the county has recognized significant savings from employment turnover that the Board of County Commissioners could consider for use in other areas, and whereas the Board of County Commissioners has directed staff to make a monthly budget adjustment by transferring personnel-related funds from individual departments to holding departments within each fund as personal budget needs are reduced, and from holding departments to individual departments as personnel budget needs increase within county policy. And whereas funds budgeted in the above referenced holding departments, which have been added to each fund as personal contingency departments, ending in the numbers 2190, are not appropriated nor available for expenditure and are only accessible by resolution of the Board of County Commissioners transferring them to other departmental budget accounts. And whereas the Board of County Commissioners hereby binds, determines, and declares that adoption of this resolution is necessary for the preservation and protection of the public health, safety, and welfare of the inhabitants of Teller County, Colorado. Now therefore be it hereby resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Teller County, Colorado, that the departmental budgets and personnel contingency department accounts be decreased as follows, now summarized by fund. General fund, $361,593. Road and bridge, $93,623. Jail enterprise, $53,204. Social services fund, $29,187. And that the departmental budgets and personnel contingency department accounts be increased as follows. And again, I'll summarize by fund. General fund, $361,593. Road and bridge fund, $93,623. Jail enterprise fund, $53,204. Social services fund, $29,187. And that the amounts appropriated for expenditure be reduced and increased accordingly, adopted at the regular meeting of the Board of County Commissioners of Teller County, Colorado, this 20th day of August, 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Herzog. Any questions for Mr. Hilder at this time?
No, sir.
No, sir.
All right, this is a public item, so I will bring it up for any public comment on this resolution. All right, hearing no public comment. Gentlemen, do you have a choice on this resolution?
Sure, I move that we approve resolution 08/20/2024. During 30, that being a resolution to amend the 2024 general road and bridge, jail enterprise, and DSS fund budgets. Have it attached to the written minutes to show the details of the budget adjustments.
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen. Assuming no other discussion, roll call please.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes. All right, next up, we have our 955 item for capital improvement project recommendations for 2025.
Morning,
Good morning.
Julie Gilly with IT, presenting as the chair of the Capital Improvement Program Committee. This year, we received 11 capital improvement program projects requests for the 2025 budget year. These projects are not in any order of significance, and please note, the CIP committee is a review committee only and does not have an approval of a project. We have 3 projects that were submitted by our community development department this year. One for an administrative vehicle totaling an estimated cost of $46,850. A second for the remodel of suite 230 at our Woodland Park office location to house the community development offices in suite 224 and 230 for an estimated cost of $237,482. And their third request was for the digitization of their records that they've had from years past to contract with DocuTech Incorporated, and their estimated cost for that project would be $164,800. Our fourth request was from the Finance Human Resources Department to remodel the first floor of the Centennial Building, estimated at a cost of $157,298. Three requests came from our Office of Emergency Management Department. One for a radio communication specialist vehicle estimated at $66,509. A second for a Viavi CX300 service monitor, which could help maintain and troubleshoot the county's 498 radios. Estimated cost of $50,746. Their third project was for infrastructure for the VHF backup system radios to remove old equipment and to restructure the frequencies for a better site. And the total cost for this project is estimated at $16,500. The eighth request is from the Information Technology Department for an upgrade of the network cabling in the Centennial Building, estimated at $38,563. Information Technology also submitted a request for the installation of an access control card reader system across our county apartment buildings, estimated at $152,498. Project number 10 is a request from our jail department to remodel the jail booking area, estimated at $99,404. And our final project request is from Public Works for the installation of permanent walls and doors and 4 cubicle spaces in their current building for an estimated cost of $25,416. Thank you for your time and your consideration. Any questions?
Thank you, Julie. I appreciate the time. I would say it's volunteer time, but I know you have several members from community development, public works, IT department, human services, and finance that help you serve on this committee. And I appreciate taking your time out of your normal work duties to assist us and do some analysis on these budget requests. Given that we're fairly early in the budget program, we appreciate it being done timely, so we can consider these requests with all the other requests we have throughout the county for budget needs and facilities and payroll costs, et cetera. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Do you have any questions?
I just want to add that to it, Julie, this is not your first rodeo. You've led this team every year, and it takes, in some cases, really complicated. It takes a long time. For example, the videos, for example, towers, and you take it down to something we can digest. And for me personally, we haven't made decisions or we make anything today, but we're looking at life, health, safety, we're looking at operations as a priority, particularly if we have other purposes, we're trying to, make decisions about expanded wastewater treatment plants, other investments in capital. So this really, really helps. I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Julie. All right, next item is our 1010 item. To consider approval of intergovernmental agreement for 2024 general election.
Mr. Chair, I'm getting an item for you. So if you remember, on the 8th of August, this board passed 2 resolutions to place matters on the ballot for the November 5th ballot. First one is calling for an election to eliminate term limits for the coroner, and then a second one to eliminate the term limits for the county surveyor. This intergovernmental agreement is between the Board of County Commissioners and our esteemed clerk and reporter, because she and her staff will be running that election, and this we use this type of agreement with all of the other governmental entities in the county who have measures on the ballot. And just worked with the clerk on this agreement for the county. It is ready for your signature. One question came up about the notices or information to put into what we call a blue book for the election. And the clerk has informed me that that only is required if it is a Tabor tax item for the entity that wants to have the ballot measure on there. You would have to then prepare the pro and con statements of the ballot measure. This does not involve Tabor issue, so that portion you're not required to do that. So happy to answer any questions. The clerk can answer any questions if you have them for them.
No, I just a comment if I could, Mr. Chair, and I'm sure Eric and Bob will chime in as well. So I've received quite a few calls on this or just questions. There's no intent to lift term limits for commissioners, other folks. That wasn't at all. Really, these 2 particular job skills, coroner And surveyor require intense training, loss of licensure, years of practice. We're all gonna die. And the coroner that comes to your house ought to be really, really trained. And he is, and there's all kinds of specialty. When it comes to the surveyor, we have maybe 3 living surveyors up here now. And so this is not a high paid job, but it's definitely a job that we really need. So our thought there was to go to the people and say on those particular cases, let them stay as long as they want. They can still be challenged every year. That's the other question I got. You can still challenge somebody with no term limits if their performance of duty isn't done. But as long as they have the desire, the will, and the health, and residents of this county want them, that's what we're providing here. So that's really the pro. I don't know that there's a con to it, to be honest with you. And when you have to say goodbye to people, the coroner shows up, you want the very best. And the peacekeepers in this county aren't really the first responders, they're the surveyors that make sure that our property is protected. So it's not good.
Yeah, I've got actually just another pro. And the pro is that if we have valid and certified people to serve in these two professional roles of coroner and surveyor, and they're limited by term limits from running again, is what happens in that if nobody runs, is that 3 people choose who the next coroner is. These 3 people. I would much rather have the residents of Tulsa County choose who the next coroner is than these 3 people, because no one ran for the office because of the qualifications required in order to hold that office. Again, I think this is one of those little things about term limits that when it comes to professional offices in small counties, that is a challenge. It's a challenge across the state of Colorado. And in some counties, they do just continue to appoint a surveyor every year if no one puts their name on the ballot. But again, my preference is that the voters vote on who's going to represent them and serve them. And so that's the other big pro around it is I'd rather not have it fall to us unless it's because of a reason of somebody not being able to fulfill the duties of their office rather than because nobody put their name on a ballot.
Thank you, sir. And I think as I mentioned when we were considering this, we didn't talk to either one of the gentlemen that currently hold this office before we made this decision. We didn't confer with them. We didn't discuss it at all. It's not necessarily specific about them. It's a supply and demand issue. We're going to have a limited supply for people who can qualify and step up to do these jobs. And the demand for them is we have one every election. And if we kick them out just because their 8 years is over, that supply is going to be depleted more than the demand is. So that's all this was about. And it's fairly simple for these 2 offices, but that would be my comments. I will open this IGA up for any public discussion, any public comment on this issue. All right, gentlemen, what would be your choice on this IGA for the 2024 general election?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve the Teller County Intergovernmental Agreement for 2024 general election between the Board of County Commissioners and the Teller County Clerk.
Second the motion, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, gentlemen. Assuming no other questions, roll call, please.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes. Thank you. Our next item, number 7, or 1020 item, clerk and recorder to consider approval of special events liquor permit for Rocky Mountain Highway Music Collaborative.
Good morning. I'm Ashley Hedrick with the Clerk and Recorder Office. Today I would like to request the approval from the Board of County Commissioners for a special event liquor permit for Rocky Mountain Highway Music Collaborative for their event on September 7th at Aspen Valley Ranch in Woodland Park. Jessica Hogan, their executive director, submitted a completed application and fees to our office on July 29th. We, Teller County, have granted a permit for this event in previous years. Unfortunately, Ms. Hogan is unable to be present today, and thank you for your time.
Well, thank you. We've actually attended that event, and again, this is an example of what people are supposed to do. So really appreciate your efforts in bringing it to us. And the issue with Mr. Chair.
I've got one question. I've seen this before, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
And I'll just, Ashley, if you know the answer to this, but they paid a $10 fee for the application for a permitted malt beverage, which I assume is beer. But then they also have a $25 fee to apply for a malt, vinous, and spirituous liquor What's the difference between the malt in that and the malt in the second one? Are we double charging?
One of those drinks. Because I haven't, I mean, not the time. Okay, so, the difference is that the fermented malt and beverage is $10 a day, and you can only do beer and wine. But they have paid, I believe, actually correct me if I'm wrong, they have paid for a spiritualist, which is $25 a day. The county charges $100 flat rate. And that has been approved a long time ago, the county to do that. Yeah, so, and basically, it allows us to have a little bit more leniency as far as timeline goes, so that the state doesn't actually have to also sign off on the special event with a permit, so that is, oh, that's my very long answer, that's an error. It should have only been,
Spirituous.
yeah.
All right, I'd just like to point out, based on, I'm not sure if that's the name that they've used in the past, but this is the event that's held in the Aspen Valley Ranch on South 40 Road.
Correct. I believe it's the Sun Music Festival, but the business license is under the Rocky Mountain. But the event is called like the Sun Music Festival.
Great. All right, I'll open this item up for public comment. Any public comment on this agenda item? All right, hearing no public item. Any questions or discussion, or would you like to go for a motion on this?
Make a request, just one question, Steph, so, are we changing them now?
Yeah, they paid. They paid both, yeah.
Okay, great. Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the special events liquor permit for Rocky Mountain Highway Music Collaborative as written and presented.
Second?
Thank you, gentlemen. All in favor? Please.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you, Ashley. All right, next up, item 8, 1025 item, consider ratification of resolution 8/13/24/29, a resolution rescinding the fire ban restricting open burning in Frederick County. The item we had on the minutes before, but we actually need to ratify the decision.
Doesn't need to be read again, so I'm ready to make a motion, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I would move to ratify resolution number 08/13/2024, number 29, a resolution rescinding the stage 1 fire ban restricting open burning in Teller County, Colorado, as presented.
Second motion, Mr. Chair.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes. Thank you. And our last open board item. Consider acceptance and authorizing publishing of the Teller County Treasurer 6 semi-annual report for January 1st, 2024 through January 30th, 2024.
I don't think I have any of my notes in, so. Good morning, everyone. Save the best for last, right?
There you go.
I'm Crystal Brown, the Teller County Treasurer and Public Trustee with the semi-annual Treasurer Report through December 31st, 2023 till July 1st, 2024. Looking first at your county funds, if you look, it's $40,348,545.49 as of July 1st. As I handed you that balance sheet, I did not give it electronically to you, but I can get it to you electronically if you would like that. But I'm not required to give you that balance report, but it does show that we officially balanced to the penny. I just would like for you to know that I've been working due diligently on the 6-month report and the balancing. So I've been working with Tyler, our vendor. And so before there was a lot of steps and
things that we had to do. And now I have got it down to a science to where I can run these reports and it balances completely every way across. So I would like to thank Vicky and Sharon both. Vicky pointed out, how I needed to make sure this report was being sent to you all. And then that's when I started working with my vendor. And so it's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, but I am very happy that I am to this point right now. So, and then on to other treasurer's news. Our collection right now, we are at 95.78%. So we've collected $40,694 or $694,394.80. So that is up a little bit from last year. So I'm very happy to talk about that. We are gearing up for the tax sale in November. You have until August to pay your delinquent taxes. If you've not got them, then you do, we will be sending you to the paper. You can look that, or it could be possibility of selling your property. So we need to get your tax payments in. At this time, we are, only have 339, which is down. I didn't realize that there was a bet in the office and I was like, oh my gosh, look at this, girls, this is great. And they're like, oh, thanks. So now we can win this bet. I'm like, it's not, I was giving information. So, but that is awesome that we are down on that. On the public trustees side, we have 20 active foreclosures with 5 bankruptcies in there. We are scheduled for a foreclosure next Wednesday and not this Wednesday, next Wednesday. And I am working with also a couple of vendors with that procedure also. We are going to try to get that to go live. We're one of the last counties that has that. And so it is fun to do them in person. I really enjoyed it. The last couple that I've done it is, fun, but I think that if we can open that up and we can get people to come in from all over, I think it would be better for Teller County to do that. So, pending your questions, that's all I have for you all today.
Just one point of clarification there. You said that they don't pay their taxes, that will sell their property. They don't sell their property.
Possibly, they could sell it.
Down the line after multiple years of
Yes,
selling those property tax liens, I guess what they are.
correct,
Is that eventually somebody could apply for that.
correct. Steps towards selling the
Steps
property, excuse
toward
me.
that, but they have many opportunities to cure
Absolutely,
all of this before it even goes to the auction of the tax.
correct, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Well presented.
I'd just like to point out, the actual semi-annual report is a statutory required report. And it's just an activity report showing all the ins and outs of everything that you do in your office related to the treasurer side. I didn't have any questions. I went over it quite detailed. That's what I do.
Yes, thank you, I appreciate that.
Any other questions or comments?
No, I just would like to point out one thing though, that if anybody ever looked at the report, one of the things that they'll notice is that the jail enterprise fund is in the red, about $200,000. I've been working with the sheriff's department in order to increase our inmate count through the U.S. Marshal Service. A lot of this is result of legislation from the state that has eliminated some of our opportunities with INS. This gets called INS, it was ICE, with ICE. So appreciate the sheriff's department working with U.S. Marshal Service to increase those numbers so that that we will continue, hopefully we'll continue to run in the red in that account. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Crystal.
Absolutely, thank you all.
We have a motion.
Appreciate
Just
it.
report.
Yeah.
Accept and authorize the publishing of.
Chair, make a motion that we accept and authorize the public to the Teller County Treasurer's semi-annual report for January 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2024 as written and presented.
Thank you.
Roll call, Ms. Keys.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Williams? Mr. Campbell?
Yes. Thank you so much, Crystal. All right, I think that ends our regular agenda items. And we have a few business items that Mr. Herzog will present.
Thank you, sir. Just a few items for Commissioner business items today. Number one is consider approval of the professional service agreement with Concrete Stabilization Technologies Incorporated. Just disclosure, it does say subject matter is manhole repair, not to exceed $54,600. But in the scope of services, while they're mobilized out here, we're going to take advantage of that, and they were going to help, rather than coming out on a separate trip to some sidewalk and flat work lifting at the sheriff's office, which is about $1,600 of that cost. So it was a good opportunity to consolidate those services. The actual manhole work is great because the intent of that is to stop the groundwater leaks as best as we can that appear into approximately 20 of the identified manholes. But also increases our capacity at the wastewater too. We're not putting the inflow in, so win-win.
If I'm not mistaken, we've done this before, and this is the second phase.
This is the second phase, correct?
Yeah. Any questions, gentlemen?
No, sir.
All right, what would be your choice on this PSA?
And Mr. Chair, I move to approve the professional services agreement with Concrete Stabilization Technologies Incorporated as presented along with any modifications requested by the contractor approved by the county attorney.
Second motion, Mr. Chair.
You gentlemen, roll call please.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Second item is consider approval of a professional service agreement with Peak Landscape LLC. This is for the courthouse and Centennial Building for season 24-25 snow removal, not to exceed $140,000. This does, we do have some service expectations. They have delivered in the past. We were hoping to phase out of outsourcing this, but until we get our staffing up to accommodate it, we're looking to do this one more year, sir.
All right, I didn't have any questions.
No questions, sir.
Questions, sir. Chair, I move that we approve the professional services agreement PSA with Peak Landscapes LLC as presented along with any modifications from the contractor by the county attorney.
Second?
Thank you, gentlemen. Roll call please.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
And third item is consider approval of a professional services agreement with B2 Striking. This is to be done before September 30th of this year. 6 expires, not to exceed the amount of $177,796.08. So that has increased over the years for paint striking. I don't have the maps, but there is the scope of services and the attachment A, and it is just for safety. All we need to do. It's more than just doing a rattle can, so. No concerns with it. It's something Public Works does, and it helps with the safety of our community stripes.
Yes. Mr. Herzog and I talked yesterday. I think one of the first times you ever approved this, and I'm not sure it was D2, but back in the day, it was 36 grand to do this. But because of federal requirements and type of paint requirements and Department of Transportation at the federal level, the requirements of the type of paint and reflectiveness and quality, et cetera, has changed considerably over the years. Any questions or?
I'll start with first waiting that on County Road 60. And then gravel road, so that's a good point. He's gone up. No questions, sir.
All right, what would be the choice on this particular PSA?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the professional services agreement with D2 Striking as presented, with any modifications requested by the contractor and approved by the county attorney.
Second motion, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, gentlemen. Roll call, please.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Moving on to item number 4, this is a consider approval of a professional service agreement with Adiron Contract Constructors. This is the guardrail. So there was damage over on CR 81 at Portland Ave and Goldfield. So the contract amount is $22,715.38. Or as I'm reading it, it's a pass through on an insurance claim to repair those guardrails. No concerns, and there's definitely places in the comments that we appreciate guardrails.
And if I'm not mistaken, Adiron is normally one of the few, if not the only contractor that's available to do this type of work right now, so.
It's very specific of how they install it.
Any questions, gentlemen?
No, sir.
All right, what would be your choice on this PSA?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the professional service agreement PSA with Anavan Constructors as presented, along with any modifications requested by the contractor, approved by our county attorney.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes. Do we have any additional items to be brought in front of the board, Mr. Herzog?
No additional administrative matters have been received after the agenda deadlines. So
And before you turn out, Mr. Chair, there is one update that I intended to give you guys on my report. I didn't, the Teller County, Historic Advisory Board, did meet during the last couple of weeks. They're working on, their historic preservation plan, which is required, in order to submit to be a certified local government. So they are working on that. And then they also discussed the budget request that was put into the county, but just want to let you guys know that they are continuing to work through on their number one goal, which is to become a CLG, which will open us up to some funding from History Colorado in order to begin to survey our historic sites and areas and develop programs for that.
Thank you for that additional information, Commissioner. There's nothing else to be brought in front of the board. I have 10:37. We shall adjourn this regular meeting of Teller County Commissioners.